bill. I believe absolutely in conscientious objection, and the right to conscientious objection, and I want to support the bill and do everything I can to hopefully bring it through the Commons. Perhaps I lighten the mood slightly because there are certain, not funny, but I think a little bit of humour sometimes makes a political point. But before that, I should say I myself am a humanist, and I'm Vice Chair of the Parliamentary C&D. I'm Vice Chair of the Parliamentary Unionist Group, and a lifelong peace campaigner. In 1960, I was a member of C&D, and I went on the big 1962 Order Master March against nuclear weapons through Hyde Park, through the gate in Hyde Park. Most interestingly, that was 1962. In 2002, exactly 40 years later, I went through the same gate in Hyde Park and heard the same speaker making an anti-war speech. It was Michael Foot, who was the first one hero. It was, I thought, deja vu or what. But a week ago, indeed, tonight, I was speaking on an anti-Trident platform in London, and I cannot see the arguments for Trident. I just recently was voting in the House of Commons. We were those who abstained, so we didn't embarrass Jeremy, because Jeremy is clearly one of us. But rather than have a row within the Labour Party, they decided to have an abstention. I was one of those who yet again rebelled by voting with the switch. I have to say that there were dozens of others who agreed with me but chose to go home, whatever, that night. But I was, we've been a bit of a troublemaker, so I stayed behind voting with the Scottish Nationalists against Trident. But we talk about hypothecation, and I was just saying that if we hypothecate part of our taxes for peaceful purposes, it's a wonderful idea. In fact, I think if we suggested to people that they hypothecate their spending on the military for the health service, I think we get an overwhelming amount of support. And certainly millions of people would do that. Years ago, we used to have a light joke, if you like, that we often had charities for things like hospices and foreign aid and that kind of thing. But if we had a flag day for Trident, how much would we collect? I suspect not very much. Many years after my early days, I was actually National Chair of Trade Union C&D, and I used to work with Bruce, who was the senior Bruce Kent at that time. And I was in my youth, another of my sins, I was a jazz musician, and when I was campaigning, I used to wear my C&D badge when I was playing in the jazz band, and we used to have jazz gigs collecting for C&D, which I thought was a splendid thing to do. We had Humphrey Lyttelton play with my band on one occasion, and George May sang with my band on another occasion. All the cause of the peace and getting rid of nuclear weapons. And so tonight is another one of those enjoyable occasions, so meeting people of like mind. But there's a little story I have which shows, I think, how we can influence fellow human beings sometimes. I was at a conference in Dublin. It just happened to be Dublin. It could have been anywhere in the world, but it happened to be Dublin. And I was getting a taxi to the airport, and I walked across the street, and there were two taxi drivers having a fight, punching each other and rolling on the ground. It was really quite embarrassing. So I stood by a taxi. One of them got up, and it was his taxi. So he said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "I want to go to the airport, please." And so I got in the taxi, and he said, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm just a person." He said, "Where have you been?" "I've been to a meeting." "What sort of meeting was that?" "Was it a trade union meeting?" "Oh, you're one of those commies, aren't you?" So I thought, well, this is a good start. And I said, "Well, no, actually, I remember the Labour Party." "I thought so, but it was the same thing." And we got to talking, and then he asked me about nuclear weapons, inevitably. And I said I was against nuclear weapons. And again, he was enraged, he was still seething with his bit of a punch-up. And he said, "You're a cowardly so-and-so." I said, "No, I'm not a coward. I just don't want to blow up the world and kill millions of fellow human beings, very simply." And he said, "What would you do?" He said, if you're in a room and there's a guy with a gun threatening to kill you and you had a gun." I said, "Well, I think I would put my gun down and say, look, I don't either of us to die. I'm certainly not going to kill you. So I'm putting my gun down and hopefully we can be friends and make peace." And at this point, the taxi driver stopped speaking to me, went in total silence all the way. But I think kind of won the argument there. That's the kind of argument you want to make for peace. You know, you don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to threaten other people to have a peaceful world. And I certainly do believe that you know, people who have a sense of conscience that all war is fundamentally evil. I'm not a total pacifist myself, I have to say, but it's all fundamentally evil. The idea of killing fellow human beings with dreadful weapons is monstrous, and that the nuclear weapons in particular are an abomination which will destroy the whole world. I don't want to see that. I want to see my grandchildren live and thrive and live a happy life, because I've had a relatively happy life myself, and they can't do that if we're living under the shadow of the bomb and of ongoing wars. So, delighted to be here, to wish you well, to support the bill, support Ruth in her efforts, and hopefully we'll get some support in the House of Commons and move on from there. But you know, I like to think that peace is the future and war is the past. Let's hope that happens. Thank you.